Hi, now is the time to join the rear part of the fly with the second hook of the fly. This hook will placed in the middle of the fly, and don't forget that the joint between this shank and this hook can take high tension if you hook a fish on the rear hook. So it's important to have a good base to solidly retain the rear part of the fly with this hook. To obtain this, I will use the big fly thread and make a basis of thread to hold well the wire. So I go back just to the beginning of the bend of the hook, and I go in front at 1/4 inch of the eye, and I will take my 60-pound wire. Will take enough to make a loop and to make some back turn when I will tie it on the hook. You will understand. Remember, when we tie the tail at the rear hook, I use the same pattern except this. The tail was a loop in this side, in a place like this. So the loop must be horizontal to make this type of joint. This part of the fly present a loop horizontal, so the loop that you will create with the wire on the hook must be vertical. So I must tie a piece of wire on the top of the hook, pardon, and I will make a loop horizontal like that, vertical like that. So I tie about 1/4 inch on the side of the hook. I fold the wire on the top of the hook, and I tie solidly with thread. Remember that when you arrive at the end of the wire, sharp, so relax the tension, and when you passed, you make a better tension up to the beginning of the bend here. So this wire is thicker, so I must use a bigger beadhead to make the joint. This beadhead present a hole flush with the surface of the bead, and another hole encaved inside of a bead. This angle will help my loop to have the good angle. So I will enter the wire in the flat portion of the hole. I'll take my rear part of the fly, enter in a loop, We'll insert in the hole. Sometimes it's difficult because the wire is tight in the hole. Come on. Okay, I have it. Good. I want a loop not too large, because if the loop is large, is longer too, and a loop too long will have more chance to kink. If the loop is too tight, you don't have a good movement, so you must manage the larger of the loop to have approximately the same thing of your shank. That's a good basis to determine the larger. After you maintain the loop tight between your finger to maintain the position, and will tight with your thread, and when you release, that's maintain the good position. I tightly tie it just a little bit in front of the previous section, cut off the excedent, fold, and tie it solidly. Some turn the back. Okay. Now we must manage this part of the fly. We have different options. Can use a clip like this. Me, I prefer use elastic. It's up to you. That's the same result. And I can work easily without the rear part in the way. Really important to fix it with glue. For the next part, you have two options. Don't forget that the goal is to create a body profile thinner at the rear and larger while we go in the front of the fly. That's a normal shape of a mini fish. We have two options. The first is to do the same thing that we made for the rear part. Add a little pinch of wool at the rear of the hook and another part at the front. Or you can simply take the material for the body, cover the body, and put a longer wing that will cover the entire part of the middle of the fly. This is the option that I will choose, because for experiment both method, this one is faster and we have the same result in the action of the fly and the presentation and the results. So I really like this stuff for the color and also for the, it's easy to use. So here we want to make a larger profile because we want to keep the taper shape of the fly. So we will use more fiber because we want to cover a larger part of the fly. Not too much because we want to keep it the lighter as possible. And we want to cover a part of the previous part that we extended. So this with the extension, when we will taper it, we will go about here and we will conserve the taper profile of the fly. Pinch. We'll make the same thing for the bottom, the belly. But remember that I told that it's not a good idea to have a long part when you have the hook, because you risk to have the wool that will retain by the hook. But because the gape is really large on this hook in comparison with the real one, we can use a longer part for the belly, and it will not make many problem with the fly. So I will take the same length of the top. I don't put feather on this part because in the next step we will have the head in front and we will have feather fixed to the head that will cover the upper part of the body here. So it's not necessary to put feather here because in front we will have. So the work done at this part of the fly is similar to numerous game changer fly. But the next step, you will try different way to shape the fly. So the next shank we will put on the next video, the 1-inch shank, we will put on this shank the extension that it will imitate the rear and the pectoral fin. So on the next video we will try different things of tying, and it's those things that make this pattern really different than the other pattern of Game Changer. So see you next video.